on your Look what we done started. Look at what we done started. This the people party. Peace and love, party people. How you feeling? It's the BKMC, the MCEO. You are now in tune with the world's best podcast, The People's Party. As always and as usual, we got the lovely and talented, the best co-host in the podcast game. Jasmin Leigh is in the house. What's up, Jasmin?
Me?
How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling great. I just had a coffee, so I'm on one today.
Okay, that's not how I take my caffeine, but I'm glad you're caffeinated. Definitely, I take my caffeine in other ways. Today's show, I want to get right into it because this man's resume is so intense. If I just read his accolades and his resume, that would just be the whole show.
Right.
So I'm going to start. Today's guest is absolutely an icon. Television royalty. I will go as far to say. This man has been on some of the most iconic television shows of all time, just in his path. The Jeffersons. This man was on the Jeffersons. Charlie and Company. One to Grow On. Remember One to Grow On?
That one was before.
She's too young.
She's too young for that. She's too young. All right, Step by Step. You know Step by Step?
Of course, Step by Step.
All right, I'm about to bust your head open. Mr. Belvedere.
I did do Mr. Belvedere.
You forgot you was on Mr. Belvedere.
I would never forget, but I
hanging out with Wesley. That was his name, right?
Wesley was Bryce Becker. He was my favorite child actor, actually.
He was pretty good.
Oh,
We're going to talk about the other child actors, too.
He was nice.
This man was on Full House. This man was on Boston Legal.
Yes.
A few years later, he turned a minor guest spot into a staple of American television. He turned a role that was supposed to be like a one-time or maybe, short-lived thing into like the main character of a show. He was the voice of Sonic the Hedgehog. He voiced the teenage Martin Luther King. He did Gene the Genie in the new DuckTales. Ooh. He was in DuckTales. He was Big Fat Liar, Dreamgirls, House, Psych. This man has not just experienced fame, he's also had his face on lunchboxes. Yes. T-shirts. There was cereal. There was dolls. There was
pencils,
cases, dispensers. Did I say Halloween costumes?
No, you didn't.
Okay.
To this day.
This man is a friend of mine. He's always shown love to my team. He's always been supportive of my creative endeavors. He navigates Hollywood with incredible grace and incredible work ethic. He's a writer. He's a producer. He's an actor. His kindness is widely known. He's not a man that you hear people talking shit about. He's a man that his name rings a lot of bells. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about the originator of Steve Urkel. Jaleel White is in the house on the People's Party. How you feeling?
I'm feeling nice with this in my hand right now.
Yeah, tell us about this. You gave me one of these, and I said, "Is this a vape pen?" You said, "No."
Oh wait, you got one too?
No.
I didn't get one.
I'm sorry.
You walked in late.
You walked in. Yeah, that was it. You walked in.
Yeah,
late.
That's it.
No, we'll fix this afterwards. You can edit that part out, right?
Yeah. Note to editor: keep that shit.
No, it's a live resin pod. And no buttons or anything like that. It's nice and sleek.
Wow.
I actually saw Leonardo DiCaprio with one at the Golden Globes like 3 or 4 years ago.
I saw that.
You remember that moment?
It was a meme.
Yeah, and
I
was like, he's doing that on NBC, and nobody's telling him to put it down. I was like, yo, it's coming. It's here.
Right.
It's here. And so I'm just very proud that I have a product now to celebrate it.
And we're going to talk more about It's Purple.
Yeah.
Definitely, because that's a big part of what's going on here. Yeah. Now, I named all these TV shows. I mean, I grew up in that era. I'm the type of guy that, and I'm not making this up, I would read the entire TV guide. Every week it came out.
TV guide.
Yeah. I'd read the whole shit front to back. That's how much I love television.
Yeah.
I knew, and back then there was only 3 networks. And if your local affiliates in the main 3. So you were able to, back then, you could read the whole TV guide. You could know every single and that TV used to go off at night. It'd go off at 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
So you could literally, if you cared that much, you could know every show.
Yeah.
And I literally watched every single show on television. So, a sitcom was my favorite version of it. And those classic Norman Lear sitcoms, like Jeffersons and all that.
Sanford and Son.
Sanford and Son, that's right. And those actors and this is filmed in front of a live studio audience. Yeah. When you started blowing up at television, I didn't understand that you came from the Jeffersons and that era. You know what I'm saying? Like you, as a very, very, very young artist, actor, your acting style is very much, correct me if I'm wrong, a tribute to that era.
Yeah, no, I didn't have any formal training. I'm just really observant. And I actually can't stand my work when I was young. I look at it now and I'm like, oh, I stunk. Now I understand the note better, or why that director didn't like me, or whatever. I get that now because I wasn't trained. My mom basically put me in the business because my preschool teacher, and may she rest in peace, Miss Eva Lou, was an Asian lady in the hood who actually just cared about her kids, and you know, she wasn't. You know, she was teaching us manners and everything, just at a table manners and stuff like that at a high level at her preschool. Yeah. And she told my mom one day that this is a really funny kid. He should be on TV. Back in 1980.
And what were you doing to make her say that?
I don't. You know, I was always a funny kid. You know, I would say things that were always above my age bracket. I had a giant afro and big eyes and puffy cheeks. You know, sometimes I don't really have to say much to get a laugh out of somebody.
The Gary Coleman playbook.
Right, exactly. There you go. And so they sent me to an acting school at that time, which was nothing more than a gimmick really to get kids to put money in the vending machine for 3 hours. What are you going to teach a 3-year-old? But an agent on a talent scout came through that acting school and took a chance on me, because normally she didn't take a chance on kids that were as young as I was. And the first commercial I booked right out the gate was a Goodyear tire commercial. After that, it was a Kellogg's commercial, and then it was a Toys R Us commercial. And I booked that one because I could read. Okay. I booked that one. I could read. They had the song up.
I don't want to grow up.
You could read at 3.
Yeah.
I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid.
Yeah, I don't want to grow up. I was a Toys R Us kid. They got a million Toys R Us, and I can play with it on bikes and trains. So,
keep going.
But I was like, I actually kind of remember the room. I kind of vividly do. And I had to read the board and then sing the song. And I practically booked the job just off of that. It was like, oh, well-groomed black kid, and he could read this thing? Cool. Throw him in the commercial.
It's funny about you said that, because we were watching the Family Matters reunion, and the one producer kept saying, we need a black family. I think they want a black family. We delivered a black family.
You know what's wild about that?
A black family. You know what's Reginald Felcher, he's black.
Dog, you know what? If you want to go there, we can go there, though, dog.
The fact that he said it just so nonchalantly, like, yeah, they wanted a black family, got some black people, we put them on TV.
Because
we kept rewinding that part.
Talib, we're living in this new Renaissance age for African-American filmmakers that I've never lived before.
That's right.
And I think I'm young enough to be able to take advantage of it myself a little bit, which I'm really excited about. But I come from an era where you were not going to be on a black show on television unless you had powerful white producers.
That's right.
That's just the way it had to be.
That's right.
So it's like, it's not even a sour grapes conversation or anything like that. It was like, they told us, don't even waste your time submitting yourself for an Emmy. They're not inviting you down there. Right? Just like, no, because we had to find out, most people don't know, you have to submit yourself for an Emmy. You can win, you can be nominated, but you still have to go through, there's a whole process of submitting yourself. And it was like, oh, you're wasting your time. Don't do that. Your producers don't win Emmys, and they're powerful and white. So your black ass really ain't about to win no Emmys. Right. And then I'm like, well, after a while, I was like, well, I don't have to win one. Maybe I could present. Nah, you wasting your time. Just don't go. For real. And you just took these lumps like it was what it was. Like I'll even say this, like, just keep it real, but like, I was the only black kid in my entire school in San Marino. Like there was a thing going on in Arcadia, San Marino, where the Asians were coming in deep. My mom got me a transfer. And I was the only black kid in my entire school because she found out that this school district just got great test scores and numbers and whatever. And so she wanted to get me out of the Pasadena school district because the Pasadena school district got issues. And, but back then, you talk about 1988, 1989, you didn't ask no white girl out to the dance. You didn't ask no white. Only person doing that was OJ.
See how they did him.
And you see how they did him, and you see how he did her.
So it's like, I don't talk about these things with any bitterness. I talk about these things as I'm just like bridging these gaps that I'm like, I connect generations. Yeah. That's the cool part I do like about my existence. I seemingly connect a lot of generations, a lot more than I even realized.
That's right.
And you were on a white show dancing with a bunch of white girls. Doing the Urkel, the step-by-step episode.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you talking about dancing?
I'm happy you clarified that, because you took it to a real Alabama place for a second. I was like, no, I wasn't.
It wasn't me, dog. Wasn't me.
During that time. Yeah, no, it was. Yeah, no, it was.
No, but you could count the black people in the clip. You know what I mean? So it's like those things were still very.
But it
iconic.
wasn't even about just skin. It was about. So I can even explain why Steve Urkel worked. I remember I watched Family Matters, just like you probably as a kid who got the TV guide, and I watched anything. Right, I give it a shot.
Right.
And I remember I watched it on a night, as a matter of fact, when Mike Tyson was gonna fight Frank Bruno.
Okay.
That was a Friday night fight. Normally fights were on Saturday nights. And I was like, man, this show ain't funny. Right? And so then my dad got home in time and was like, now it's time to watch the fight.
Right.
And then like weeks later, I got an audition to be on the show. So you obviously look at it differently.
Yeah.
Now it's
you
hilarious.
to be on it. No, not necessarily hilarious. You're just happy to get the opportunity to be on TV. Right. But I still knew this was that show that wasn't as funny as the Cosby Show at the time. Dun dun dun. I said it. Dun, dun, dun. Right. But what happened is when you would get these shows, all the writing staff, they were all white. And then the cast was all black. So Norman Lear and his team were probably the best at mitigating the cultural differences between the writer's room, and the stage, and still coming up with magic. A lot of places, that was a failed experiment.
Yeah.
So I would even look at older episodes before I even got to Family Matters. There's 12 episodes I'm not in.
Aren't you in episode 6 on a walk-on?
I came in episode 12.
Right, but wasn't an earlier episode that aired? Because this is what's interesting. I was looking at the first season, and like when you watch it in order, right? You get to episode 6, and you walk on.
Yes.
But there's no, you walk on and clear. Carl knows you.
Let me explain.
Okay, my bad.
No, it's good. It's good.
Right.
So what they did was, okay, let me finish. Bring me back to that. I want to finish my earlier point. So there's even an early episode where Thelma Hopkins comes in the door after like a long day of work, and she's exhausted, and she's like, "Oy vey." And I look at that now, and that's so loud. I was like, they let that black woman come through the door and just say, "Oy vey," like that was her exhaustion for the day.
Right.
Back then, you didn't question your writers too heavily. If you did that, that was like, whoa, you're telling the writers what's inappropriate. You know what I'm saying? And so there was a lot of moments like that, and that's what, credit to Joe Marie and Reggie, who played Carl and Harriette. That's what they were fighting for before I got there, and why the show wasn't even so funny. Because you had a white room writing for black people in Chicago, not making any effort to truly relate, though, to black people in Chicago. So that goes back to the thing that you said, where you were like, yes, what happens is one black show would do well on a network, and then the other networks would simply say, we need a black show.
We need a black family.
A black family, as if it's something you just go stamp out.
Right.
Period. Just so what do? They contact their top-ranking producers, and they say, who can go put us together a package together fast enough? And it's a race. Right? So then our producers say, okay, well, look, we already have a black woman on this show, Perfect Strangers. Okay, so grab her. It's a race. Right? Let's go get oh, what about this guy? The
Die Hard guy.
Hey, the guy from Die Hard.
Right.
Wait a minute. This is going to mess you up. What do they have him play?
A cop.
Exactly the way he was in Die Hard.
Same character.
It's not even creative.
Right.
It's like, we will take the same look and we will put it here. Now, here's what's messed up on the deal side. On the deal side, I can already see they're telling each one of these people, you're the star.
You're the star, yeah.
Then they call up Thelma Hopkins, because I'm sure the network's like...
Is she an OG at this point?
Yeah, they're like, these two are probably still not big enough stars. Can you get us anybody else? This is what executives do. They just push and push and push about star power instead of chemistry. You know, and stuff that we really should matter. So they tell Thelma Hopkins, like, hey, you come be on this show. You're really the star. You really the star of the show, because people really know more of you. Know you more.
Give me a break at that point.
Boom. Right. Then I come in, and it's like... Hold up, y'all lied to us.
Right. Where's my lunch box?
So do you see the hustle?
Yeah.
Now, as far as my character is concerned, the thing that I always love is Steve loved cheese, polka. He played the accordion.
Did he eat mice?
He did, yeah. He ate mice. But bottom line is
weird.
Everything about the kid.
He was a weird black guy.
Yeah, everything about him was white and weird.
Yes.
So it made him as a character easy to write for the writers they were excited now. Like they were hyped now. They were like, oh, finally,
blurs didn't exist in the mainstream. There was no
finally
representation.
we got something we can write for.
Right.
And then just, now this is where I will tip my hat a little bit. Just as a credit to myself, I would find a way to inject soul and a uniqueness. Because all I was really doing was a bad Ed Grimley impersonation.
There it is.
With a little sprinkle of Pee Wee Herman in there. And my voice was already high. I was calling Toys R Us doing price checks, and they thought I was a woman on the phone. so I was, my man is cracking up. He was like, this was my reality at age 13. Right. Anyway, look at it. He still won't come up for air. He still won't come up.
That's funny.
So that was being able to create a character. To bring it short, is that the writing staff could finally identify with. And then suddenly my character just became something to, just a catalyst to create conflict with almost anybody in the house.
Yeah.
Okay, let's aim the character at Eddie now. Let's aim the character at Laura now. Let's aim the character at, and that's really how the synergy created now, what was born between the writing staff and the cast. Now, to answer the last part where you said, dude, I did see you on episode 6.
Right.
It's like, man, I've been waiting 10 minutes for you to answer that.
Oh, no, I'm patient. This is Jewels and Gems. This is what we come here for.
But at the end of season 1, they realized they were already forward thinking, and when I say they, our producers. Our producers produced Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley, Mork and Mindy.
They jumped that shark.
Yeah, they invented Jump the Shark,
they did.
right? It took me years to realize. I was like, you guys, we work for the dudes who invented Jump the Shark. I was like, oh my gosh, right? So they, on a business level, were just so much savvier than us. I'll never even forget when we achieved our 100 episode milestone. They had a banner that hung above the studio audience, and it said, congratulations on your first 100. I remember that used to rock me because I was like, my first 100?
Right, they already knew.
Right? And it was like, but we would always get told we're getting picked up. Like, they would make it a tense moment and everything. Are we getting picked up? And this, that. Nah, these dudes, they had a plan for us once we start hitting certain numbers, right? And so they went back at the end of season 1 and retroactively put me in almost all the teasers, which is the first scene at the beginning of every episode. And we just spent a whole day shooting teasers.
And that's what
teasers that were completely disconnected from the story at all.
Who is this kid?
Like, dude, who is this kid? Why did he keep coming
How
through
you
the
know
door?
him? And since you know him, why did you meet him 6
I was
episodes
wondering
later?
why he met him too.
So here's the thing. It was actually smart for the times.
Yeah.
Because we used to live in the era of reruns.
Yeah.
Now I'm really dating you, right? So if you had people who were, now they knew that they were going to get you in the spring and the summer to watch the reruns. They didn't want to have episodes that didn't have any Urkel. Otherwise, they would see a difference in ratings.
Right.
So by putting me at the top of the episode, it tricked people into thinking that I was going to be in the rest of the episode.
Yes.
I know this is Family Matters, and this kind of happened on the same thing. But for both shows, like for the Cosby Show, they had 4 kids the first episode. Then all of a sudden, it was like, oh, I'm so happy I had 5 kids. And then it's like, Sandra just comes through the door. Like, where the hell did you come from? And the same thing with y'all. Y'all had, they had just 2 kids. And the next thing you know, Judy just popped up.
Well, no, actually, it was reversed. They had 3 kids always.
Oh, and then Judy left.
And then
no one said anything.
They cut her from the cast.
She walked up the stairs and didn't come back.
Yeah, they cut her from the cast. And again, this was a different era in television where, I love how everybody now acts like the internet always existed. It's wild to me.
You saying you could get away with that?
Yeah, you could get away with certain things because the bottom line was to keep viewers coming back for whatever core reason is that they're coming back.
Well, that became your character at a certain point on the show.
Right.
The trades, I remember because I was a fan of Perfect Strangers.
I love Perfect Strangers, actually.
Yeah, don't be ridiculous. That was my shit.
Yeah.
And
I think we're both historians of television. I'm starting to realize it. I was like, that's how I learned to act. I was just watching other
watching that all the time. And I remember watching Joe Marie on Perfect Strangers before, and I remember thinking, well, there is a black woman that looks like a black woman. And I'm not used to seeing that on mainstream television. Right. And now she has a whole show. And I remember it was like, okay, it's a spinoff of Perfect Strangers. So to me, the way I saw it was, well, this is her show. Like you said, I told everybody, well, this is your show.
Yeah.
you know, you go to the last episode, and we're skipping a little bit here. You go to the last episode of Full House. Now you in space.
Right. Family Matters.
Yeah, Family Matters. Yeah, Family Matters. Now you in space. You flying around in outer space. And she left through the middle of that season. And they felt like it was okay to just put somebody else in the role.
Now look, don't just shoot arrows at us. They did the same thing on Fresh Prince.
They did it all the time.
And they did it all the time.
They did it all over.
And they did it all the time, guys.
On not just black shows,
not just black shows, white shows too. Exactly.
Yeah,
okay.
they just did
it. They assumed that no one really started talking about until the internet came up.
Yes.
And then it's like everyone's like, yeah, we noticed that too.
Right. So one of the issues that we've had in their fantasy dreams for a reboot is there has been no respect by our top tier executive producers, and I speak to them. I speak about them carefully. Miller Boyette I always talk about very carefully, because I still come from a generation where you respect your elders.
Yes,
and I struggle with that right now because this generation says I don't give a shit. If I don't agree with your politics, if I don't agree with who you are, you mean nothing. You're not relevant. Boom, boom, and that's it. So I don't subscribe to that. And I also like to compartmentalize how well I was treated and what that time period was and how special it was and what gentlemen they were, because they did do a lot of special things and they were very forward thinking in how they produced. But here comes my giant but.
Right.
They never anticipated a day where the world would demand a greater African-American authenticity than they are capable of providing. Because they just don't have much interest in your culture to that degree.
Yeah.
Got it?
Yes.
So it's been an issue because we have a lot of things that don't make sense about the show now, if you were to do it. But we got away with it then.
Yeah.
And it would take away from the show to bring Jamie back into the show now. As, you know, Jamie was never really the strongest actress. There's a whole thing about that. I don't hold back when I say that. We did not get along, actually, when we were kids.
Oh, wow.
We bagged on each other a lot when we were kids. Remember that we bagged? I don't dislike her. I don't hate her. But I'm like, you know, it was like, I remember her the same way you would remember a kid you used to get into it with all the time in the third grade.
You said for you, that was junior high school and high school.
Exactly. Yeah. It was like, that's the way it was like, oh, I remember Corey, man. This fool always has something stupid to say. Right? That's just the way you remember. You wouldn't scrap with the kid if you saw him at a street corner now. You'd be like, hey, all right, cool. Good to see you, whatever. But we're not going to go back and rewrite history and make you an Oscar-winning actress now that got cut for no reason. We're like, no.
Oh, my goodness. I'm like,
reason.
Yeah, like, yo.
It is what it is.
Yeah, like, yo, you were not very good at your job, and your mom was making crazy waves.
Oh, no.
Because she was just out there like that.
Now, your mom managed you, right? For
yeah,
a
my
period.
mom managed me, yeah.
But she wasn't making them type of waves.
No, my mom, as a matter of fact, my mom was the opposite. And it would bother the other moms. My mom and dad
went
were
along with things.
my mom and dad were in denial about me becoming a star. We were such humble people that grew up in LA, like authentic LA. My mom and dad are Crenshaw High School sweethearts.
Oh.
My dad drove the RTD bus. You know, my mom got my dad an application to become a dentist to apply to UCLA, and affirmative action mattered then.
Yeah.
And that's how he ended up going to UCLA with an under 1,000 SAT score. You know, and that was all at my mom's urging, and we were a middle class family in a 1,200 square foot tract home in Pasadena.
Wow.
She wanted me normal. That was the whole point I was really trying. She just wanted me normal. You're going to college.
Which is why you said they were hesitant to embrace the star.
Yeah, it wasn't even hesitant. It was just, we didn't, how can I say that back then? Like back in the day, man, like if you saw Magic Johnson in the streets, like I remember seeing James Worthy as
Celebrity
a kid.
was different.
It was different. It was like,
yeah.
Byron Scott went to my church, First AME, and he would leave church and go to the Forum and play the Celtics. And we would pray as a church that they beat the Celtics. And while they prayed, and people were like, bow your head. You sat there as a kid, you just stared at Byron Scott. That's really Byron Scott. Close your eyes. Put your hands together. Life was different, man. But I love being that guy that can happily remind people how different life was. And any chance you get also to try to reach back to some of that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Turn your phone off and just be present or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
I do. In this new culture, there's a word that really offends a lot of people, particularly women. It starts with a C.
Cunt? Oh, sorry.
Negro. What?
No.
You're loose.
What is that, though?
The word is
collagen.
It's Cosby. That's the word.
Cosby.
You see, I said collagen.
Right
I said
And I came up with that joke just now when you said dun dun dun. He said the word. You're not supposed to say that word. And you said in an interview recently, which I think it was TV One, where you said what you said on this show just now. I was raised to respect my elders.
Right.
And you said that you had a falling out with Mr. Cosby, but you also, I think, kept it a buck about, you said a revered man did a terrible thing, is paying the appropriate price.
Oh, I might say it again.
Yes. And so now, but that interview came before he got out.
Right.
So now that he's got out, do you have any context to add to that statement?
I don't have any context to add to it. You know,
And I'm saying it because people don't know.
Yeah.
You worked with him early on a Pudding Pops commercial.
I did a Jello Pudding Pops commercial with him. I auditioned for the Cosby Show. And
For Rudy.
Yeah, for Rudy. And then after I became who I became, he did befriend me. He tends to do that with young African Americans when they were coming up. You know, he would reach out and make an overture and, you know, give you his words of wisdom of how you should proceed.
Yes.
And I also I ended up changing my agents at his suggesting, and that was not a positive experience for me. Something I have to clarify too, and you can't fix this. You just can't fix this aspect of life. But you'll say something like that, and I actually caught a little backlash from that from my own community. That doesn't surprise me.
I felt like what you said was right and exact.
Oh, I know it was.
Yeah.
But you'll still get the keyboard warriors that like to just leave comments because
Keyboard warriors.
that's what they are. You know, they're fighting at their phone. There's nobody in front of them. You know, it's not real. The smoke is not real, right? So they say what they want to say to no consequence. But it was like, he's just reaching for clout. You know, trying to slam that man and this there.
Oh, so you got pushback from Cosby supporters.
Oh yeah, no. Now that so what happens is, and this is what we do in our community, which is on some hypocritical stuff. Now that he's out, now we're getting a small crop of African Americans who want to come out now and act like they've been supporting him the entire time.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm just like, I would rather stay mum and just repeat what I said. A revered man did a terrible thing and he paid the appropriate price. Let's move on.
Right.
What's tough for us, people like me and Raven Simone, and I think Raven would forgive me for injecting her name in this because she and I had a conversation about it on my podcast, Ever After, and that was the best nuanced conversation I've ever had about it, and I left it there, and even she tried to stay away from it. I was like, Raven, it's me. It's Jaleel. Right. She was like, all right, because she's built to protect herself from a journalist.
And she was a kid at that time?
Yeah, she built it, but it was like, this man touched our lives positively at a certain point in time. At a certain point in time, you couldn't be famous and black and not cross paths with Mr. Cosby. Look at that. I'm
and as
40-something years old, I'm still calling him Mr. Cosby because you're just ingrained to call him
And in the
that.
TV world, he was the first successful black actor on television.
He was the first black man in prime time.
Yeah.
And so it's like, because of that, because of what he's done now, we can't talk about our experiences freely.
I think that you should be able to talk about your experiences because, like you said, like he was everybody's TV father. Like Cliff Huxtable did no wrong.
Hey,
you know what I'm
man,
saying? He didn't drug anybody.
You out of pocket. You wild. She wild over there.
Cliff
She said his name.
Huxtable,
She said his character. She talking about the show.
I said
You wild, bro.
You're not supposed to do any of that.
Oh, your pitch meetings just got canceled next week, dog.
But no, I have not watched the C Show, and I own every episode, so I am definitely standing in solidarity. But I think that it really, that's one of the situations that kind of breaks our community apart because you can't have, that's a part of the politics conversation now. You can't just talk to somebody about the C word. But I do find it rather strange that he came out of, as soon as he get out, he's talking about doing a special. Like, he's just like, oh, I didn't
That doesn't sound strange to me
That
at all.
doesn't sound strange to us.
That's
why we over here being quiet, because we know who he is.
I mean, the man maintained
his innocence.
In public, you know, he made the statement to the DA, but that statement, it ended up getting thrown out because of the circumstance behind it. He's a comedian. That's what he's going to do.
Right.
You know, and he, like you said, the man is a revered man.
Who did a terrible thing.
And paid the appropriate price.
And I felt like.
That's the best way to put it.
I'm almost proud of that. And I wish I could just put it in other people, because saying that doesn't tear down what he did.
Right. It doesn't ignore.
It doesn't ignore any of that. But at the same time, it doesn't put me in the position of having to defend or even discuss what took place. Now, I will say this. Hugh Hefner is lucky he got his ass out of Dodge when he did.
Now, look, I'll say this.
There's a whole lot of white men like that
so look,
who got out of here just in time.
Now that you said that, I watched.
Because this was a learned behavior that Mr. C picked up.
There was a TV show called The Playboy Hour that used to come on NBC at 10 o'clock at night.
I remember that joke. Man, we historians, though.
Yeah.
We historians.
And so you can go on to YouTube and watch it right now.
On the YouTube.
And there's his Hugh Hefner in the robe with the bunnies around.
With the bunnies.
At the grotto and all that, right? They have performances. The episode I watched is Ike and Tina Turner performing. Wow. It's an amazing performance. So if you've ever seen Ike and Tina Turner in their heyday, you know, it's like, and the guest on this episode I watched, Mr. Bill Cosby.
I like how we vibe it here now, because everything has to be put in the context of time.
Yeah, for sure.
And so when you're dealing with a man like that, considering what he's come through, in his mind, please don't let this be the clip.
We don't
don't mean me up.
We got you.
In his mind, based on his journey and his path, he's innocent.
In his mind.
Yeah. In his mind.
That's his truth, what he believes.
Yeah. Right? And I'm saying, I was like, no, listen, we've all dealt with a toxic partner or something like that. You know, it's just like, you're just not going to admit what you did.
Right.
You're just not going to admit that it was like, nope. Right. You're not even going to get a clear nope out of them. They're just going to keep regurgitating their truth until you realize, okay, we can't interact.
We're just not going to do it.
We're just not going to do this. Like, that's really how you're just going to see it. Yep, that's how I'm going to see it.
Before we go further, you did Charlie and Company early in your career.
That was with Flip Wilson and Gladys Knight.
And Della Reese.
Again, another one of those shows where they went to white producers and said, this C show is really hot.
The C show.
Can you go find us another Black
We need
family?
another C show.
Yeah, seriously. And CBS said we need another C show.
We need Charlie and Company. We're going to take all the C's.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
And again, critics are even funny.
Like, where were they even saying it at back then?
Because they're criticizing a system that they support.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know why these shows are not more authentically black.
Right.
Why don't you criticize that?
Right.
No, because then I would lose my job.
Right.
I'll just let you know if you got it right or you got it wrong.
Right.
And get my check.
But when you look at black shows now, they're a lot more on point. For instance, the Upshaws, what we were just talking about, the 13-year-old girl on the Upshaws reminds me of my 13-year-old
Why?
sister.
Because she wants to party at a strip club? Is that why?
She did not. My sister doesn't want to party. You're trying to get me in trouble.
This is the first episode of Upshaws.
And she
the
was
girl
not
wanted
trying
to party at the strip club.
Mike Epps was trying to be cheap.
Defend that.
I'm talking about her verbiage, like how she talks, like her slang, like the slang and how she just carried herself on the show, minus the strip club part. But my sister's a pole dancer, so you never know. But I was like, this sounds like my 13-year-old sister. Like, they got it right on the nose, and that's why the show is so good.
Now let me play devil's advocate for you.
Go ahead.
Okay. If you want the big money, you got to get the Super Bowl audience.
Oh yeah. That's
the name of the game. All right. You know, Black Panther, one of the things I loved about Black Panther so much, they kept it real. I felt it was culturally just mesmerizing. But they managed to stick to enough universal themes that it didn't alienate all of these other Marvel fans out there.
Yeah, white kids wanted to be Black Panther for Halloween.
They wanted white
Halloween
kids.
is big.
That's big. And let me tell you something. Like, I don't like being considered a sellout because I want that.
Right.
Because I want white kids and Asian kids and Mexican kids to want to be Black Panther for Halloween, just like I want to be
Captain America, whatever you want to be. Yeah.
So what happens is when we go too deep, though, on the strip club storyline for the 13-year-old, you're now going to alienate a large portion of them red states who, like, I don't agree. That's not relatable to me. And you've got to find a way in Black storytelling to do both.
Yeah.
If you want to make the money. If you don't want to
sure.
make the money and you want your dollars to go the opposite direction while you keep it real, by all means, tell what story you want to tell. But if you want to be Michael B. Jordan,
But I don't think Mike Epps wants to be
I'm
Michael
just letting
B.
you
Jordan.
know.
Yeah,
I think the confusing thing with that is that it's on Netflix, which you got a lot more creative freedom and a lot more room to grow and try things. But they're doing a straight ahead, what one camera, two camera, whatever
It's
sitcom.
a sitcom.
It's a sitcom with the same sitcom premises and the same. They just injecting the cursing.
they just injected exactly.
And keep it a little bit more funky.
I know.
That's what they do.
And listen, because the platforms have changed, that's the way they should do it.
Right.
So I
You
want
got
to be
the
clear.
freedom.
That's the way they should do it. All right. But back in our day, you would have to take these shows and you would have to sell them territory by territory with local affiliates. And to give you a good example, okay, just to show you what that hurdle really was, a show like the Upshaws would have proven the New England affiliates right in their biases. And I'm choosing my words carefully.
Right.
When Family Matters came due for syndication, one territory in America did not buy our show, as popular as it was, and that was the New England affiliate. Our producers had to reach out to the affiliate and ask them, why are you the only ones? And they said, well, African American shows like that, they just don't perform well in this region. This is, we have all the data to say otherwise. It's like, well, we have our own data too, and we're gonna go by our data.
Right.
So, okay. So again, your truth. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll give you the show for a year for free. This is how racism gets dealt with in our country. This guy gets a discount to be proven wrong. If we hit a certain number, will you buy it the following year for this amount? Oh, sure. Well, if you Negroes hit that amount of money, then that's it. Hit that number fine.
Right.
So that's where it's a credit to our storytelling, Fresh Prince's storytelling, Jefferson's storytelling, the C-Word storytelling, those type shows, because I felt like those shows were a lot closer to what needed to be done to break down those barriers.
Yes.
And it doesn't take anything away from the Upshaws and the Martins and whatnot. It doesn't take anything away from them. We need those two.
We need those two, yeah.
We need those two, but don't ever get it twisted. We always need our 3,000-pound gorilla that comes along and reminds white citizens around the world that blacks are as accepted as anybody else on this planet, and we can tell universal stories.
That's bars. Do you remember any of your raps from Camp Cucamonda?
You go to hell.
Because I wrote some down.
No, you go to hell.
This one line I love.
You go to hell. You go to
this
hell.
This is a good one. Hold on.
No, you go to hell, dog.
I get curious.
I was set up.
When people put us down, I can get injurious. That's a bar, son.
Injurious. And you rapped them like you really meant it.
Those lyrics were written by middle-aged white men who were not to be questioned. And even my mother would have said, well, why won't you just say that? those
injurious.
Those lyrics were written before rap was invented.
Right. That movie was the most 80s thing I've ever seen in my life. Like
I actually kept watching that clip as I was doing my research. I said, how have I not seen this? And I watched it over and over.
Was buying Now and Laters in Long Beach when those lyrics were written.
The song for Family Matters, my DJ Spinelec, he plays this song at parties. And the crowd loses their shit. And it's, Jesse Frederick, who also does the song for Full House. We were supposed to have that kickball game.
Yes.
Bob Saget versus
that would have been so good.
We got to get back to that.
We got to get back to it, though.
Joe Marie Payton. Me being like a brown-skinned black person, and, Reginald Val Johnson, me seeing dark-skinned black people on television, first on Perfect Strangers, then on Family Matters, was that representation was so important. Did y'all think about that at that time?
Again, none of these types of decisions were our pay grade.
Okay.
And we weren't the only ones at the time. There were spots of us, becoming increasingly more authentic depictions of ourselves. But the degree to which we were involved in those decisions, culturally, creating the look of what this is, and listen, if it had been up to somebody like me, I mean, and this is not a knock on Brighton, but Brighton McClure, who was brought in to play Little Richie, he didn't match anyone.
Right.
Right? But I love Brighton.
Right.
I don't ever want Brighton thinking, oh, this dude, here he go, going back slamming me. It's like, no, I'm not. This, back then, Bill Cosby could have 4 yellow daughters. Daughters who did it. Everybody was looking at Sandra and Lisa Bonet and everything. It was like, how did this happen?
Right.
It was a different era where you didn't
Dr. Cliff doing?
Yeah, you didn't. He could almost, and it was weird, he could almost live his preferences and not have to answer for that with a black Twitter.
Right.
That didn't exist. And that was his preference. He was the red bone king wherever he went. I actually applaud him for picking Felicia. Because, you know, I feel like that selection had to have come on a meritocracy because, I mean, she's a bad Broadway actress.
That's right.
For those who understand Felicia Rashad.
That's right. The Allen sisters are amazing.
Oh, man.
Come on. When I found out they were sisters, I was like, makes perfect sense. When your character became central on the show after tremendous fan response, you didn't feel fully welcomed by your cast. How long did that last?
Yeah, no, I mean, I hope to be able to tell these stories again one day in a special context. I have something in mind. But it was a rough going for the first 2 seasons.
2 seasons, wow.
Yeah, it was rough going for the first 2 seasons. My mom was very deferential. So, you know, she was so much more concerned with me being a kid who stayed in his place, a boy who went to public school and dealt with real life issues.
Yeah.
These were her concerns. You know, my mom was getting in my face about, did you talk back to this woman in the makeup room? And I'm like, yo, you don't hear how these ladies talk, man. You know, they're loose-lipped in here. And it's like, did you talk? You go back in there. You tell her you sorry. And I'm like, wow, you know, that's the kind of mom that I had. Right. Now, I'm grateful for it on one level because she was the grounding foundation for making me who I am today. And I don't feel weird, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
You know how our business can be, though. Yeah. Like, I don't feel weird.
Yeah.
I'm like, somehow going through all of that, you know, I don't have crazy perms in my hair and you know, and I'm dressing funny and it looks like I'm on something more than just live resin. I just like
Another shout out for the live resin. It's purple.
Yeah, it's delicious.
You know what I'm saying? But it was like, you know, I credit her for steeping my values in that.
That's beautiful.
But it also meant that I had to put up with some disrespect at times because I was just raised to not disrespect your elders.
Respect your elders. Yeah, that's such an important lesson.
And it's a dead thing now. Yeah. It's dead.
Yeah.
And it probably, I mean, I'm sure it came from them promising 3 different people that they were going to be stars.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course. I mean, that I don't think anybody has ever said it as succinctly as I just said it right now. I don't think they've ever even admitted it to each other and called each other like, Reggie, did they tell you?
Right.
Tell me, did they tell you? It was like, I'm a kid and I'm sitting back there. They lied to all 3 of you Negroes.
Your on-screen chemistry with Kelly Williams, Laura, was super incredible. And she was so intense.
I love Kelly.
And powerful just from episode 1 all the way through.
I love Kelly. Man.
Yeah, man. Talk to me about working with her.
I love Kelly. Kelly and I did an episode called Marriage 101. So in my silly little mind, I always saw myself really as an athlete. I loved basketball. I played hard. And any activity I did, I was there to compete. I was there to give my best.
Yeah.
And we did an episode called Marriage 101. And Kelly was basically kicking Steve out of the house. Like she had just had enough of him. They had a class project that called for them to pretend to be married. And she finally just insulted Steve too hard, and Steve broke. You know, you're like wishing upon a star. I think I remember the dialogue a little bit. I know I can never touch it, but it'll never stop me from reaching for it. And we both started crying in the scene. Like it went there.
Right.
And it was really interesting though, because in that, Kelly was a trained stage actress from the East Coast. She wasn't like...
That's why she came with that energy.
Right. And it was like...
screen, right.
And Kelly, no joke, Kelly could match me on any level. And that was the day I realized it. It's like, oh, okay, we're doing this because we had rehearsed that scene all week, but it wasn't until the studio audience came, because the audience just takes you up a notch, just like an athlete. Like I said, you know, when you practice at one speed and you think you're practicing at game speed until the crowd gets there and the popcorn and the jeering goes down, and all of a sudden it's like, damn, I'm winded 5 minutes in this game. I'm not even in shape. And that's how that scene went, where it was just like, it's a very, very, like, if that scene don't make you cry or doesn't touch your heart, you don't have one. Like, because I know where that scene went. But I also remember that was the day where I realized, I was like, okay, she's my equal. And I know people say it's my show and all this kind of stuff as I've gotten older, you know, but I always like to go back when I can, because I think sometimes that's just that's a gender bias. You know, the boys get more credit. You know, Gary, Emmanuel, me, whatever it is, what it is. Whereas some of the people that I respect, like Raven Simone on the C Show, woo!
Amazing.
I could see her genius. I could literally see this is
at that age.
She's a genius. I could see it. She was making adult moves at that age.
I feel the same about you, and I feel the same about Kelly. And you're right about what you're saying, because you became the breakout star. When I'm going back to watch these episodes to research for this thing, I'm like, yo, the shit that he's doing that's what I'm thinking. The word is genius. When you walk when you bust through the door and you saying all these things, this is genius. What you're doing is comedic genius. It's Steve Martin, it's Flip Wilson, it's Martin Short, it's you know, the Chevy Chase, the physical comedy. This is all of that. But you're right. As I'm going back to watch it, me as an older person, I'm like, what this young black girl is doing, she's lighting it the fuck up.
Oh, she was lighting it up.
She's lighting it up.
She was lighting it up.
And I don't think I appreciated it then.
No, and listen, even, you know, Kelly also was going through her, puberty was hell on Kelly. I mean, what Kelly started out as and what she became, even just physically, just watching her in the show, we're all dealing with that in the back, though. You know, she was going through it. And so she was having a hard time seeing herself as a role model, that her hairstyle meant something to other black girls.
I loved Kelly.
Like she wasn't. So I remember one time she came in to start a new season, and she had chopped off all her hair. And again, it was like, these white folks didn't give you permission to cut your hair like that. We couldn't even get through a table reading. It was like, now mind you, Joe Marie and Thelma, they all saluting her and this, that, and the other. We looking at them like, whoa. Because again, it wasn't braids or anything like that. Don't get me wrong. It was, she chopped off all her hair. And at that point, I'm not even sure Halle Berry had done it yet. Yes, she might have. She did mimic it. She did mimic Halle Berry, because Halle Berry kind of done it, I think,
Strictly Business.
Was it Boomerang?
Strictly Business.
It was Strictly, okay, it was Strictly Business,
It's crazy hearing that story when it's like, anybody black that was on TV that we saw, we wanted to be like. She was amazing.
And so again, that's the part of the story that I love sharing. People come up to me and they always tell me, man, you my whole childhood. Oh my gosh, you take me right back to my childhood. I see my childhood. And I'm looking at them and I'm like, when I watch the shows, I see my childhood.
Right.
I see Kelly's hairstyle, and I see the week that she got burnt with a curling iron by the hairstylist on her forehead.
Did you guys have black hairstylists?
Again, so we did. That was a mix.
Right.
It was some white. It was some black. You know, everything all black was just not tolerated. Back then, and then Thelma came to Kelly's rescue when that happened. And they started creating hairstyles to hide the burn and all this type of stuff.
That had to be hard on y'all.
And the stylist wasn't even fired.
That had to be hard on y'all as child actors, because it's like, y'all, you said in another interview, y'all had to be there 3 hours ahead of time. You had to still go to school.
So what my mom realized that the school system on studios is just, it's a joke. And so you can't get an education studying on set studying in a classroom for 20 minutes, then getting called out to rehearsal, dilly-dallying, coming back, studying for another 10 minutes, call back on set, now it's lunch, study for another 20 minutes. You can see there's no sustained study time really, really going on. So my mom just basically was like, listen, this isn't gonna work. Why don't you get us a driver And again, not fancy. Ain't no Suburbans. Ain't no, you know, whatever. A station wagon with wood grain on the side. Why don't you get us a driver to bring Jaleel to the set at 7 in the morning? And then he'll do school from 7 to 10. And then this 20 minutes, half hour thing that you want to do, if we can get him up to 5 and 6 hours in a day, that sounds like school to me.
Yeah.
So that's what happened. And the other kids didn't necessarily do that. But that was my mom saying, this is the way we going to get through school because I'm not seeing it's going to get done. Right. And listen, in fairness, I was a clever kid. So I had a Sega Genesis in my dressing room, and any chance I could get to undermine the process and go play some Madden and this, that, and the other, it actually took a specific teacher. I've always responded, again, like an athlete to competition, to being challenged. And I remember I was in New York, and I was there for the May upfronts when they would announce the new season. And my mom, unbeknownst to me, had fired my previous teacher and hired a new dude and had him flown out for me to start learning with him in New York. Now, I'm in New York walking around in a Hugh Hefner robe in my suite. I used to love the robes. I was in my robe in the suite. And I'm in New York, so I want to go do what you do in New York. I would go to FAO Schwartz. I'd go to play in the park. The NBA would let me come down. I'd go to their offices and look at my favorite games and stuff. And I had this cornball, bespectacled teacher telling me, we're not leaving this suite today. I'm like, oh, man, who is this dude? He's like, we're going to crack open this algebra book. And I'm like, oh, this guy doesn't get it, man. The show's doing really well. This guy doesn't get it. This guy's doing really well. Right? And it was like, and then he just started putting me through the paces of the math. And he's like, you don't know this? And it was like, well, you don't know this? So I went into Family Matters getting a great education. There's probably about a season and a half in there I wasn't really getting the best education. I was undermining that process myself.
You figured it out.
But when this particular teacher came in, he could not have been more indifferent. He was a nerdy white dude who taught about 4 different subjects, and he was unimpressed by black folks on TV.
Wow.
And I'd literally be doing some of my best work in rehearsals. You know, I'd see him off to the side, and then he'd sit there, he'd be done, he'd be like, this dude got a real attitude problem, man. But I had a bigger issue with him thinking that I was dumb. And I do credit him with saving my education, though.
Wow.
Awesome. You were very close to, well, we all fell in love with Myra.
Oh,
and you were very close with Michelle Thomas, who played Myra. She died of cancer in 1998. Yeah. How hard did that hit you, and what do you want to say about her?
You know how hard it hit me. You know, nobody saw it coming. You know, nobody saw it coming.
Right. Rest in peace, Myra. I want to talk about Steve Urkel and Myrtle Urkel. I've seen you talk about this.
Yeah.
It's a difficult thing for you to play this character. When you cried the first time you played it, and you had to sort of come into your own as a man and as an actor to even feel comfortable with that. Now, I auditioned for Tropic Thunder. I didn't get it. It went to Brandon T. Jackson, right? Now, Brandon T. Jackson also did Big Mama's House. Yeah. And you know the whole thing with black men shouldn't wear dresses, the whole thing. Brandon T. Jackson has now reinvented himself as the guy who's like, y'all shouldn't be wearing dresses.
Calls people
like, that's his whole shit
dresses.
now.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he called, because I guess Kevin Hart's doing it in the new movie. Kevin Hart at one point said, I'll never do it, and then did it, and Brandon T. Jackson had something to say. So I thought your take on it was very interesting, because you went through all of that.
Yeah.
You went through that, and you said your father had to step in, and then you came on your own and made a creative decision, sort of like what Kevin Hart did. Yeah. And so I wanted to give you a chance to speak to that.
You know, again, there was once life before high-speed internet.
All right.
There was once life before cell phone criticism. And, but we all understand that there's a long history of putting men in dresses, actually. Men in dresses. Now, for some reason, which may be accurate, there is a higher criticism or a higher belief that there's a particular enjoyment by putting black men, though, in dresses. Okay. This is where, you know, you can have your conspiracy theory. I can have, I can have my opinion. I can still look back and I can look at shows like Bosom Buddies. I can find Tootsie. I can find a million examples. And those are just examples from my generation. There's many more before that of men in dress humor.
Yeah.
I don't think it's any more sophisticated than fart humor, potty humor, burp humor. I don't think it's any more sophisticated than that.
Right.
It's just a form of humor that people repeat because they know they're going to get a reaction. At the time, even Reginald VelJohnson was on the bandwagon of this boy shouldn't be wearing a dress. Reggie went on to wear the dress. There's an episode where Reggie wears the dress.
Right.
And the thing that quells it always is the performance.
You said that you thought you were going to get made fun of when you got to high school and that there was the performance. And I watched it recently. And that's a hell of a performance.
That's the divider.
Yeah.
The divider is the performance. There's not a lot of performances that I would tout just because humbly you shouldn't do that. You let other people tout your stuff. But considering I come from the era where you didn't nominate yourself because you were black, damn, if there was ever an episode that I should have nominated myself and felt good about nominating myself, it was that. Right? But it was what it was back then. My way of combating the awkwardness of playing the character was to play the hell out of the character.
Word up.
So it was like, if I think I'm going to be made fun of by my peers at school for doing this, they're not going to say I suck too.
I feel that.
So that was just my thinking. And in retrospect, it worked out for me because I do remember very vividly. Like, I broke down because I convinced everybody I'm a girl.
Right. I was watching it on YouTube, and the first comment under it, the first performance of Myrtle, the first comment was, I thought that was a girl till just now.
That's hilarious.
In 2020.
NBC thought it was a girl.
Yeah. They called?
There was a running joke amongst the producers that some NBC executive had watched the episode and contacted Warner's about the new funny girl they had, I'm not making this up, they had on the show.
That's hilarious.
And it was like, nah, that was him too.
That's a powerful tribute to an actor.
It was like,
talking about Reginald VelJohnson, have you been watching Invincible?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so Invincible is on Amazon.
Okay.
It's based on a graphic novel.
Okay.
And in the graphic novel, it's about superheroes, but imagine superhero shit is the real shit.
Okay, it's the real shit. Okay.
Yeah, and in the graphic novel, the high school where the kids are going to is called
Reginald VelJohnson High.
That's right.
I love it.
That's right. Now, in the TV show, Reginald VelJohnson plays the principal of the high school. His name is Principal Winslow.
Hilarious.
So you got to check that out.
I love that.
You got to check that out. Now, by the time Family Matters ended, when you were in space, you're 21 years old, right? So you're a grown-ass man. You said, if you ever see me do that character again, take me out, put a bullet in my head, and take me out of my misery. Right. You then revisited that quote in Vanity Fair years later, and you came to terms with it. How profoundly did playing Urkel affect your ability to get other roles?
Hugely, and here's the but. There's so many other people who were affected by the entirety of the TGIF brand that to just put it on Urkel, it's not fair to me.
Right.
You know, typecasting comes from just not being able to act. Typecasting also comes from a dearth of opportunities.
Right.
So I've survived several long stretches where an NBC exec thought it was cool to say, well, have you taken that to BET? Because we're not doing that right now. They tell you this right to your face.
Right.
Oh, well, have you taken this to Magic Johnson? He plays basketball. Right. I'm here pitching you.
Right.
Okay? So I never like people. I've never stopped working, so I love that to always be known. I got to a point where I literally just decided any drama that will even have me, I'm there.
Okay.
And I was booking them left and right, from House to Castle, you name it. And I didn't care the size of the role at all or anything. You know, if I got a chance to act in a scene with Hugh Lowry, I had to learn the hard way. It wasn't about the work that you did. It was about who you did it next to.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, wow. If you go back and you look at Family Matters, if you just want to line up all the characters I played, I'm like, it's clear I can act. I have some ability. So that one I always kind of like, just have to kind of clasp my hands when I'm like, that's not about acting. That's about branding and who the networks, as they change their branding, like to promote. I remember back in the day when My Wife and Kids was on, Damon Wayans' show, right? But I remember it was also on ABC at the same time as Alias. Remember the show Alias with Jennifer Garner?
Jennifer Garner shit.
Alias never beat My Wife and Kids in the ratings. I would watch those ratings. And week after week, My Wife and Kids up here, Alias down here. But the regime at that time felt that Alias and shows like Lost were their brand.
Right.
So when you drove down the 101 freeway, you didn't see My Wife and Kids on the billboard. You saw Alias. You saw Lost. So these are the things that help you get more work, is this perception that you're hot. I never had a single billboard in Los Angeles playing those characters.
Playing one of the most iconic television
I
characters
never had a single billboard
in history.
in Los Angeles for me to pass driving down the street. But I always saw our competition, who we were about to eliminate.
And that's crazy because me being a New Yorker, when I moved to LA, the first thing I noticed, I said, wow, this is a real thought I had. Driving down the streets, you like, if you ain't on a billboard, you ain't shit.
There was a time when it was like that. There was a time. Yeah. That's why I felt some kind of way about it.
That's how I felt. I was like, okay, I see because that's when rappers started putting themselves on billboards.
I'm about to put it in context. I remember we shot an episode of Family Matters in Paris. And when we shot it, this was such a moment for me because over the Champs-Élysées, the biggest billboard, like one of the biggest billboards over the Champs-Élysées that year when we shot that episode in Paris was Nas's Illmatic.
Right.
And I was like, yo, I mean, as a kid, I was like, I'm looking at this billboard, I'm like, rap is all the way over here like that.
Right, on billboards?
On billboards? Like, they didn't tell us this. We didn't know that French kids were listening to this. You didn't know if you can't afford to get on a plane and go see.
That's right.
But that's not how they're going to report it.
That's right.
One of my favorite games, you were talking about having a Sega in your trailer. One of my favorite games is Sonic the Hedgehog. I absolutely loved it. Sonic and Tails, to be exact.
Sonic was my side hustle, my high school side hustle.
Oh, you used to gamble on Sonic?
No. I said that was my high school side hustle.
His job.
Yes.
It was my job.
You were in jobs that you were
I would
still
drive
in
to
school.
work to the recordings in my mama's car. And she had a 94 Acura Legend. And I actually was like, I didn't really like the job.
Really?
Only because it was just making my day so long. Between school and rehearsal and run-throughs and whatever, I had to go record these Sonics at the end of my day. And it would be just me in there doing all these voices too. And I'm so grateful that I pushed through because going to Comic-Cons now, whatever, like I had no idea how much people were going to associate my voice with Sonic's, with Sonic going forward. But again, producers and people, they do what they want. So like even when it even came time to do the movie, I never got a phone call, a consideration, a nothing.
Do you still do voice opportunities now? Like, do you still do voice acting?
Oh yeah,
now?
I still do voice acting now. I just did something for Bobby Moynihan, as a matter of fact. I just did a DuckTales thing. I did that last year. I played this wild genie.
And then you and Bobby Moynihan had that other thing, right?
Me, Myself, and I on CBS.
Myself,
we
and
had that
I,
for a second.
I told you I watched almost everything you did for this interview.
This guy, I love this guy.
I also watched Mega Shark versus Dr. McCormick. There was a lot of passing people in the hallways, a lot of running.
Man.
And why was the shark like beating on the ship?
So look, that was the project that made me a professional actor.
Okay.
I remember I called my agent at the time, and I was going through terrible custody issues with my daughter's mother. For men who don't know, you pay for both attorneys.
Oh, I know.
Okay. You can't.
I know.
You can't just have enough for your own. You have to have enough for theirs too.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I remember this job came in, and I couldn't even get through the first few pages of the script. And I called my manager, and I was like, you really want me to do this? And he said, oh, Jaleel, people need to see you in uniform.
That's a great pitch. That's a good manager. That's slick. That's
I'll BS you not, though. That was his response.
That's slick.
And it was like in that moment, I was like, I had to just kind of embrace like, my life's not my own right now, but hopefully if I just keep working, I'll get it back. And I'm gonna take this check and I'm gonna go to work. And
you didn't know you were becoming a part of like a thing.
No.
Okay.
I know. Now I did do my research on the director, and I love Chris Ray to this day. And it did teach me a lesson about what it is to be a professional actor sometimes. Sometimes the projects that you do, especially in this new internet age of just content deluge. Sometimes the projects that you do were not about that project being a hit. It was about you needing to cross paths with somebody.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
That was gonna affect your life in a positive way if you allowed it. And Chris Ray was a director who had settled into a custody situation of his own, which I learned about when I got there. And he was very accommodating because I was literally going to court, leaving the courthouse and showing up to set late. And he's like adjusting the schedule to accommodate me. His daughter lived in Florida, and he didn't even see his daughter except for 3 months out of the year, which for me was just unfathomable. Like, you went for that? You go for that? And it was like, oh, it is what it is. Like, you know, I love my daughter, but I get to see her in the summer.
Yeah.
And it was like, he was a part of my coming to terms about certain things that the system was about to put me through.
Yeah.
And I remember I showed up one day and I had like the most Ed Wood filming experience of my life shooting Mega Shark. I'm not even lying. I would take that poster and put it up in my next office I'm aiming to get. Because I have so much respect for what happened behind the scenes on that to me. And we shot 19 pages in one day.
Wow.
It got so bad on the dialogue, he was just like, he was really doing that. Like,
my favorite part was when
And
they had to do the art flash, and they had to tell the Navy people, and he had to go tell each of I was like, they didn't have to write any of that. They had to put any of that in the movie. Right. I get it. They're gonna electrocute the crocodile.
But here's the wild thing about it. Okay, now here's the wild thing about it. It says, okay, well, you did this sucky movie, just for money? You're proud of yourself? No. What I didn't know, again, show you how God will take you through a certain path, was Mega Shark got me my second favorite job I've ever had in my career.
Wow.
Because people watched that thing.
A lot.
Them shark movies, this was the
Debbie Gibson.
This was the beginning of people being obsessed with these big shark movies where they gobble up everybody with the horrible CGI, right? This was right before Shark. We ushered that in. So we got stupid ratings on Sci-Fi. And Sci-Fi contacted my manager and wanted me to host Total Blackout.
Total Blackout. There you go.
And I would not have even been considered for Total Blackout if I had not gotten through those 19 pages in a day. gotten through that court experience.
Yeah.
And filmed that movie. So I'm always grateful for those too, because those projects are handcuffed.
Yeah.
And I don't like people to just focus on the one that they think is cool. I'm like, nah, sometimes it's that other project, they're handcuffed.
We should give it up for the Mega Shark movies for keeping fathers with their children.
Hey.
Amen. We need more of that. On Total Blackout, from hosting that show, what did you learn about how our senses work?
Oh man, I love Total Blackout. Total Blackout's the most formulaic thing I've ever done that was just beautiful to watch unfold. People ain't shit in the dark. I don't care how big they are. I don't care how thug they are. Right. I don't care. You turn them lights off, they can't even see their hand. It's like, hey, the best part about that show used to be when we would shoot the episodes on a soundstage right here in Culver. We would occasionally get some people who thought they would back out. So they done set up everything. They done set up the course. Now you got to go over here and touch these different items. And one of them's a crocodile. And you don't understand that there's a crocodile handler, but you have to guess the weight of this, this creature or whatever. And then the guy reaches down and he touches it and he's like, "This is a motherfucking alligator." He can't see. He can't see the handler and the taped mouth or whatever. There's a fundamental understanding the way to defeat the game.
Right.
That TV can't harm you.
Right.
So I know that because I work in TV. So I'd have been so brave. I'd have been in there just stomping around and everything. Get me through this and whatever.
Right.
Because they can't let you, like they would stop the game before they thought
Yeah, y'all gonna be off the air.
you would get harmed. You know what I'm saying? But as long as it was just funny, your stumbling and your fears, then we kept the lights off. So people would go in there and be like, hey, I don't want to do this. That's a crocodile. That's too much. That's too far. Turn the lights on. And then like nobody would say anything to him. And he would be like, hey, I'm serious. Like, oh, turn on the lights, man. Turn on the lights. I said I'm done with this. And it was just like, people in the truck lined up.
Have they already signed the
yeah, they're in there. They're in there now. It was like, and this shit would go on for like 45 minutes to an hour. They'd be cussing. They'd be like, I'm going to call my freaking attorney. You can't do this shit. You can't do this. That's a goddamn crime. They'd be cussing at us and shit. It was wild. It was like, yo, man. It was everybody just like, shh. He's working through it. He'll start playing. This TV. It's like, he'll start playing the game again. Yes. Yo. And so that's the power of editing.
Right.
That you go crazy for 40 minutes and then we take the parts we need and we make a show.
That's freaking hilarious.
It is.
And I'm telling you, this would happen all the time. And the couples ones were my favorite episodes.
Oh, I bet.
Oh my gosh, just the way they go off on each other even, and they forget that they're mic'd, so they're in the back and they're talking and we can hear you. And it was just like, you know they want the white couple to win, so they're gonna give us the bigger spiders, you know that. Stop being the pussy.
That's funny.
That mic is like, always hot.
There was a realness to it behind the scenes that was just, it's my second favorite job.
Awesome.
That's beautiful.
Ever. And the only reason why it went off the air, matter of fact, I remember when we went on, we lit up Twitter. This was like when Twitter was like in its infancy. I was so happy because I was doing Dancing with the Stars. You know,
did a good job on that too.
Damn near one.
That show crazy, man. That show was crazy. But it was like I was doing Dancing with the Stars, and when the show aired, we managed to dovetail the two efforts. The second season of the show aired. I just remember Twitter, just the hashtag was just like, yo, I can't believe they got these people in here doing this. And they loved it. But Universal did not own the show worldwide. They only owned the show in America. So when it became a hit here,
other people did their
Fremantle and Universal got into it over money. Universal basically said like, Sci-Fi basically said, well, like, yo, cut us in on some of your international money for us to keep running it here. Because running in America makes you hottest.
But making internationals the money.
But making internationals the money. So they got into a back and forth that I was just a casualty.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm going to lose my show because you don't think you're getting enough now in a retroactive negotiation? I'm like, yep.
Well, shit. Negotiation is not what you asked for. What's the phrase? You don't get what you...
Want? You get what you deserve? I don't know.
No, you
get what you...
You can't...
Well, I will tell you... Well, I will say that the only power of negotiation is the power for one to walk away.
There you go.
Say that again.
Well, that's the only power in a negotiation.
That's right.
Is for one to walk away.
That's right. You got to know your power. Can you tell me the story of how you decided to do the It's Purple?
It's Purple for me, man, is...
I'm sorry, we're out of time.
Hey,
no, that's
take care. Do you validate?
No, that's how they did it on the Daily Beast. On the Daily Blast. On Daily Blast, you started telling the story. They're like, I'm sorry, we are out of time.
You see my professional side kick in. I was like, y'all validate? Can I get some more coconut water to go? Can I get...
I just couldn't believe it because I really wanted to hear the story. And the brother said, tell the story. We're going to get to the good part.
Yeah,
and then the white lady was like, no, we're out of time, Jaleel. Thank you for coming.
Come on, you roll with them punches, man.
Yeah.
You remember when they got one of my favorites is when the Breakfast Club got Donnell's ass and made him think he wasn't coming in. And man, that's one of the most classic moments ever.
He's still mad about that. He's still doing memes about that.
His Charlemagne memes are fucking hilarious.
Listen, he scarred forever off that, man, because he had to keep it together.
Yeah.
Because he just wanted to start tearing up shit and cussing. You're not going to treat me like this. I'm not that small of a star. That's what he wanted to do, but he had to keep it together. He was like, so they not come in. They knew I was going to come here. They not come in.
Right.
So It's Purple. This little thing right here. I'm so proud of this, man, because I've wanted it for so long. I didn't actually even try smoking until late. You know, I was a kid. My mom had brainwashed the hell out of me. Gabrielle Union. No, she brainwashed me. Gabrielle Union makes fun of me because we went to college together. A lot of people don't know that. We went to UCLA together.
Right.
And she was like, Jaleel really invited us over to his apartment to play Monopoly. She did me real dirty on New Year's Eve with beautiful women on the beach and everything. Right. In college, this Negro invited me to his apartment to play Monopoly. He had no booze, he had no weed, he had nothing to offer us but Monopoly. I was like, yes, and I fully intended on winning. I don't understand. Right. So, my mom had really programmed me to believe that if anybody got drunk at my spot or got smoked or whatever, I was gonna get sued. Mm-hmm. They're gonna sue you. They're gonna sue you. They're gonna sue you. So I was like, "Whoa, okay, mom, I got it. And it was a different time back then,
right?
And also back then too, dirt weed was dirt weed.
Oh yeah,
a dime bag
I'm from New York, so
a 20 sack or whatever, something like that was like, that stank, right? So I didn't get introduced to high end cannabis until I was on a ski trip with some of my boys. Going to Colorado. And I'm like, this is beautiful.
Right.
This was the enhancer. We got big pools and jacuzzis and a chef and the steak tastes better and everything.
The enhancer.
And they whipping out the enhancer. And it was like, and then the best part about it was you don't have a hangover.
Right.
So I'm like, wow, like why would this be advertised as being worse than alcohol?
You know why.
Right. And I'm like, they
couldn't tax it at the time.
This is the enhancer, right? So I'm like, all right. When that happened, I started to become more sensitive to people contacting me about this strain called Purple Urkel.
Which I was smoking.
Right. And so there was a strain that came out, and they name strains after a lot of things in pop culture. But since there's only one person associated with the name Urkel, a lot of trap gods would use my image on selling it. And they put my face on rolling trays and whatever. And I actually don't agree with that image.
Right.
But because of how they did it. It was just not very well branded. It's just cheesy. They counterfeited me. And so I kind of had a choice to make. Am I going to be upset about this?
Or get some money.
Or no, I didn't have that choice then. Am I going to be upset about this, or am I going to see this for what it is as street cred?
Right.
That means there's another individual out there who wasn't thought to watch Family Matters, who appreciated my performances.
Right.
And I don't necessarily need to be contacting this dude trying to sue him for X number of
rolling trays.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
There you go. Right. There you go. I look petty doing that.
Right.
Right. I couldn't be Tom Cruise about it. Like apparently, I said, if you sell a toothpick and use a T, Tom Cruise might be like, hey, wait a minute. I'm Tom Cruise. What does a toothpick have to do with you? I don't care. We're going to court. Right? But I couldn't be that way about this. Right. I had to just take the street cred. So slowly but surely, I started the legalization coming. And then it was like, whoa, wait a minute. Now I got my finance people at the bank, and it was like, we want to get you in some of these cannabis stocks, and they're doing great. And I was like, well, I got a strain out there that's named after me. And I crossed paths with a guy from 710 Labs, Brad Melshanker. I'll always give him his props for being the first believer of my dream. And other people would just say it was just a gimmick. And I said, no, I don't. The strain is just an entrant. I said, I know my people love purples. Right. And so I would love to make the best purples in the country.
When you say my people love purples, which people you talking about?
Black folks.
Okay. I just want to make sure you're on the same page and we're in the same bag.
If I put a GDP down here, dog,
that bag is a Crown Royal bag.
You know what I'm saying? Okay. Well, we love that too. So
it's royalty. It's royalty.
It's right. I was trying to do something that was actually bigger than just the strain itself. I just knew the strain gave me an invitation to do it. And then COVID hit. People looking for ways to be productive. And I remember Brad gave me an extra freezer for my meats. and I would go over to his house and I'd smoke and we social distances. He's over there smoking, I'm over here smoking. This is how you kept saying during real pandemic, like when it hit. And then he was like, hey, you want to put the seeds in the ground? I'm like, I've been begging you to put the seeds in the ground. Let's do it. Right. And so then BLM hit. And then there was a robbery, and there was a whole lot of other stuff that went down around the Grove, and it was dangerous, like legitimately. And I thought it was just done.
Right, it was over,
I was like, all right. And then he came back to me around October, November, and was like, hey, we put the seeds in the ground. So I'm like, in repairing y'all stuff, you did put
Right.
The actual purple Urkel in the ground. And then we put some other stuff in the ground too. Actually, my favorite is Amendo Perps and Skittles though.
Okay.
That we put in the ground. Whew, it's fire. And it still hadn't even come out.
Okay.
But we were doing a pheno hunt at the time. We were looking for something special. So they didn't half-ass me.
Right. It's a good quality product.
No, it's a super quality product. And so when 420 was coming around, I threw all my weight behind it. And it hit.
The noodles be hitting.
Yeah, the cannabis community and, you know, our crew, you know what I'm saying? It was like, and y'all didn't even know when we was in quarantine that he had made that promise to me.
Right. No, I didn't.
So
you were just showing up.
I was just showing up and I had the noodle.
Yeah, the
so
noodles.
It's like, so when people understand the noodle, we call it the noodle is our joints we call doinks and we use a rotini pasta filter. So it's a piece of rotini pasta as the filter. And it's very sexy and the quality is like once you hand the noodle to a woman, she's like, don't bring me any more of that trash over there. I don't know them Negroes. I want the noodle. I want the noodle.
That's how it happened too.
And that's how it happened.
And we'd be in the shack in Yellow Springs and be like, let me hit that. Oh, that's not the noodle?
That's not the noodle. It's not the noodle. So I was having this moment on top of the moments that we had in Yellow Springs where it was just like, they really loved the noodle.
Right.
And Dave wanted the noodle, and Tiff wanted the noodle, and everybody's like, "I'm not crazy. The noodle is better, right? It's the best way." So then I made that a stipulation that I had to have the noodle, right? When It's Purple when it finally came out, and we put it in 2 strains, and we bottom line we sold out within hours.
That's beautiful. And
at every store we dropped that, and now we're working on re-upping.
What's dope about it is you went through this thing where we talked about it already, where you said, I don't want to play this character. I don't want to be associated with this character. And then you had to figure out a way in which you were comfortable to do it. And you reprised the character in Scooby-Doo, but then you reprised the character again sort of for this. Right. So it's like the right thing. And it's like, that's not your name, but it is something that you had a huge part of the creation of.
Yeah.
And Busta Rhymes tells me about how the 20th anniversary of the Coming album and how the record label was rolling out all these things and doing all these things with his image. And he said he had to realize, talking to business people, that, you know what, these people never owned my image. But I just assumed they had the right to do this because of the contract I signed back then. Yeah. So he said when he understood that they never owned his image, he was able to shore up his business in certain ways. And that's essentially the story that you're telling.
So that's basically what's going on with me right now.
Yeah.
Is there's this misconception that my image is owned. Now, I still have opinions about how the character should be used responsibly. And I don't agree with the original counterfeiting image. I just don't agree with it. But I used my facial likeness as Jaleel White.
Jaleel White.
Those are my dad's glasses. And the reality of it is, Urkel is me, and I am Urkel. And when I get that question of, do you own the character? No, I don't own the character as it exists in the IP. But that's not what people are interested in at this point.
That's right.
They're interested in how I choose to breathe life into the character. Right. So I love talking about the time when I said, if you ever see me playing this character again, put a bullet in my head. Okay, I'll put that in context, okay? If you're 16, 17, 18 years old, or at the time when I gave that quote, I believe I was 20. I did the show from 12 to 21. I was a third-year sophomore at UCLA. I was probably a little sick and tired of every basketball player and football player taking every girl that I wanted.
And you said you couldn't work out because you had to stay.
Yeah, exactly. You want the context? Give the context. Once I got to college, it was no longer cool being him. When I was in junior high school and high school, it was the dopest thing ever. But by the time I got to college, we had new images of, especially in the heat of this East versus West, Tupac was running the scene at that time. So if Tupac and Kadada are the coolest people at the House of Blues, and everybody's catering to that, and Urkel is sitting across from them, it's affecting my social life in a way that I never imagined. So when I said that, I didn't say that with any context about what nostalgia is going to become, how trends are going to go out. Hey, guess what? Rest in peace. Obviously, no, this is going to happen to Tupac, and Family Matters and Steve Urkel and that whole legacy is still going to be here. I was just a 20-year-old kid wanting to be freed of this. And literally, I grew out my afro, everything. As soon as the show was done, it was like I wanted to do anything that was anti-Urkel to just enjoy college.
Yeah.
Hooping, I got heavy into hooping, almost like I was going to the league or something. I would train with Penny in Memphis in the summers. I played in games I didn't even belong in, and I held my own. Because in the South, they don't call fouls like that. It's like, who's going to bitch up and call the first foul?
Yeah.
And we would play like 1s and 2s to 11. And I'm guarding somebody 6'4". And he's looking at me like, I got 3 easy buckets on Urkel. And I'm like, yeah, all right.
Right.
I'm like, this is where my mindset was when that interviewer kind of took advantage of my youth.
I understand that.
And you know what I'm saying? It just kind of amplified what I said. So I don't regret what I said. You mature.
I was in boarding school and I had to wear a jacket and tie. And on graduation day, I said, I will never, ever, ever wear a tie ever again. Fuck that. It took me 5 years to want to wear ties again. Yeah. You know, but I definitely was like, no, I'm not doing that.
My daughter told me she will never eat shrimp in her life at age 6.
That's going to change. Shrimp is delicious.
She just ate a plate of shrimp last night. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it was like, yeah, I have fun with it, but it's crazy how in the effort to get a click, to get a look on the internet, somebody will amplify something you said and then try to get under your skin with it. And it's like, it wasn't that deep, man. It's part of my maturation process. Like, I actually love tattoos. I think tattoos are sexy on a woman, too. Like, I love it, you know. And my girl now keep talking about that damn Kelly Dressel and all his sleeve or whatever. All the women are falling in love with him, black, white, or whatever. But I don't like tattoos because I work as an actor.
Right. So
that means you have to report to the set earlier in the morning to get your tattoos covered up.
Right.
Oh, you wouldn't have thought about that if you're not a professional actor.
Right.
You cool with all this until somebody says you got to show up to work 3 hours earlier to get it covered.
Right.
Oh, and you should need to do that just to audition, because if they see that, they'll say you're not right for the role.
That's right. That's right. That's a lot of jewels, a lot of gems, a lot of bars, a lot of information, a lot of knowledge. Jaleel, you've been so gracious with your time and your energy. Thank you for joining us on The People's Party. Tell us what's next for you.
Come on, man. You family. Look, we definitely have another drop of It's Purple coming out. I'm so excited. Like I said, it's just at such a high quality, probably by the end of summer. And I'm working on a project actually that is kind of related to Family Matters.
Okay.
I don't want to do a direct reboot. I don't want to make any announcements at all. It's not my style. But I've been writing on it really hard. I've been working with an Oscar-winning director on it.
Beautiful.
And I'm really, really excited about it. I hope I get the opportunity to do it, because I kind of have a sixth sense when it comes to this stuff that when it pertains to sitcom, I almost know when it works before we ever even do a table reading. I know, I've been around it enough to know that works.
No doubt. Well, I want to say that there's so much more I want to talk to you about that we'll talk about as friends.
Yeah.
And, we haven't had a repeat guest on People's Party yet. And at some point, we're going to start having repeat guests. I'd love to have you back and have more conversation, because there's so much to you that we spent this amount of time and we only just touched the surface of it. Well, the People's Party is proud to have Jaleel White.
Thank you, guys.